everyone. Hope everyone's doing well and staying safe these days. I want to do a quick little follow-up review on the Surface Go 3 tablet I reviewed some weeks back. It's already been, I would say, at least 10 days or so, give or take, since I actually popped this thing open, started using it, and did a little bit of binge watching videos off YouTube and Netflix even at late night. Even actually used it in the corporate world to actually use it on a job I did not too long ago. So I'll go ahead and explain all that, see what my experience is. And again, one thing I definitely do have to mention, pretty useful little thing. I've actually been a big fan of the Go tablet so far since the first generation, which had the bigger borders and everything. But I've actually been a pretty big fan, but between the first generation of the Go tablet and the second, obviously there was a little bit of an update. You did see the borders just got a little bit smaller as they are on the Go 3. The processor changed a little bit and maybe one or two other little options. I just forget which ones they were. But there was definitely significant, immediately you can already see a change, an update. With the Go 3, I have to be honest, it's, as I mentioned before in my original review, it's still a little questioning why Microsoft just decided to release another generation of Go tablets when the only real change there actually was is just the processor. The Intel Pentium processor, obviously a very basic processor that's running this. And of course there is Windows 11 by default, but Windows 11 installation on the Go 2 is no issue at all. And I've done a video getting that done. And actually it's running pretty on par with how this tablet runs as well too. So it could just be a little marketing gimmick, to be honest, basically a newer generation of Go tablets. So obviously if you're going to decide whether to get the Go 2 or Go 3 and Windows 11 is not really an issue, obviously I would say go for the Go 3. The processor may just be ever so slightly better and updated, but that's where the differences really end. As I mentioned before, just underneath here, go ahead, just underneath the kickstand, right over here, it actually mentions a model number. And this particular model number of this particular tablet here is 1901. I kid you not, on a Go 2 tablet, it says the same model number. And right next to it does tell you it's 64 gigabyte version, 128, whichever version you got. And obviously, you know, you can always get your hands on the default basic tablet. You'll get your hands on 64 gig, 4 gigabytes of RAM, just like this one is. Obviously, you do have the option to update there and also get the kind of like the Core i3 variant, the M3 CPU on this particular tablet, which is supposed to give you better performance to some degree, of course. This is obviously a small tablet, not really made to be used as like a workhouse particular device. That being put aside, it definitely still has been a very amazing little device to actually use. There are obviously some shortcomings to some degree. If you're actually looking for a big upgrade between the 2 and 3, you're going to be quite disappointed. But let's go ahead and take a look at a couple little things I've observed between the two of them. Some things I've actually observed between just actually using myself on this particular tablet with no comparisons to anything else, and ultimately what I really feel about this tablet in the end. I have both tablets here side by side. The Go 2 is on this side and the Go 3 is on the right. So obviously both are different operating systems, so I'm not really sure if comparing both of them, such as something simple like a startup test, really may be productive here or any useful whatsoever, but I'll go ahead and just give it a go. So let me go ahead and power both these on, see where we go with that. Here we go. I did originally inquire if the Surface Go 3 was available with Windows 10 or if there's actually a way to roll back. Doesn't appear to be that particular option now. Is it possible to actually install Windows 10 on the Surface Go 3? That's always a possibility. They both look exactly identical. The model number on the back actually basically says they're actually the same model. I believe it's 1901 or 1903. So it's almost as if someone just updated the CPU, or maybe just change out the little board, use the same casing, and off we go. So you can definitely see the Go 2 booted up just a little tad bit faster than the Go 3. Obviously it's Windows 10 versus Windows 11 kind of boot up times here as well too. So we can also try to go ahead and just do a little bit of a restart as well. I'll try to do this here. So hopefully I can actually click on both of these at the same time. Yep, looks like I kind of did, maybe just like a third of a second, a little off, but there we go. Now, I actually prefer doing restarts as opposed to doing shutdowns and startups, because usually in Windows 10, I'm guessing Windows 11 as well too, there's a feature that basically allows the computer to boot up in fast boot mode. I guess the best way and the easiest way I can describe it is the system itself kind of shuts down in almost like a very similar to a hibernate sleep mode, which allows it to actually turn on significantly much faster. That basically explains why you do see 5 or 6 second boot up times. Doing the full restart does obviously have the system not save anything into memory or anything like that. It's just actually a full restart and full boot up with no advantage here. And it does turn out that the Go 3 definitely does boot up quite a bit faster. I would say anywhere between 5 or 10 seconds before, just when I can actually start seeing the desktop and go ahead and start actually to perform any tasks here as well. Went ahead and turned off the overhead light here because it's actually causing quite a little bit of glare, so this actually looks much better here. So I did actually bring up a couple of videos here just to, on both tablets, to actually go ahead and just play side by side simultaneously, the same exact video. If anyone's wondering why I installed ad blocker on both these tablets, well, it's a little tacky to actually play my own video and see my own ad come up. I mean, that's just a little silly. So I just went ahead just to avoid that, and also just to keep this video uninterrupted. So I'm going to go ahead and play both these videos in 1080, because obviously if you saw my review before, you did notice that 1440 or even 4K video, this tablet just stutters a little bit having both on the same volume. And let's go ahead and play them both right now. Let me just go ahead and maximize both of them as well. Both of them actually at the same brightness. A little confusing to actually see why the tablet on the left, the Go 2, seems to be giving off this little effect here. Maybe it's just the distance or just the angle that the tablet's actually faced to the camera, but you can probably see there's a little bit more of a glare there. Let me see if I can just adjust the camera just a little bit to kind of compensate. All right, that might just look a little bit better. I have to say, I've actually really enjoyed using the Go 3 myself. I find myself just kicking back and just watching, if I'm actually going to find a moment to just watch a couple of YouTube videos or listen to a little bit of music, even connected Bluetooth to one of my little speakers. This is actually a pretty useful device as opposed to powering up a laptop, turning on a computer, etc., etc. Obviously, the device does last a number of hours on the battery power, so pretty portable little device. You can actually take it anywhere, take it into the kitchen while you're cooking something, and that's actually something I really enjoy doing with my Surface Pro 7. I use it kind of like a little DJ box in the kitchen basically, and other locations where I can actually connect it to a Bluetooth speaker, listen to music, or even play a nice movie there, or some TV show, Netflix, Amazon Prime, etc., etc., while I'm in the kitchen. That's always a funny little idea I always had for some time now. And this particular tablet here being a little more portable, a little bit more smaller, I can definitely sit back on the couch and use it to read some news websites, catch us up on tech news and whatnot, cryptocurrency junk, the freaking live stock counters of video cards, which is just still a shame, unfortunately. So little tasks like that, just like everyday entertainment that you will find yourself doing, is actually really productive on these little tablets, I definitely do have to say. Now the Go 2, as I mentioned earlier, is actually one that I borrowed from a family member and reinstalled Windows 10 on. The Go 3 I'm actually using for the time being here. Maybe we'll see if somebody will get their hands on that one. But in terms of performance, I really just using them both side by side so far. Well, actually I have my hands already on the Go 2, so I do have experience with that one before the Go 3. In terms of performance, they're pretty much on par. Whether or not there's a difference in battery power just because of the slightly change in CPU, but that's pretty much where the changes end. Same screen, same resolution, same options in terms of the USB-C port on the side, the micro SD slot on the back, the wonderful kickstand, and the Microsoft Hinge, which is probably one of the big reasons that really drew me to the Surface tablets in the first place, especially after having some hands-on on them. And just other options that both tablets actually have are just pretty much identical. Obviously, if you get your hands on the newer models and more powerful models with the what is it, the M3 or the i3 version, mobile version for these particular devices, you really will not actually be seeing much of a difference. As I said before in my original review of the Go 3 tablet, I'm just a little surprised that the Go 3 was even released. Obviously the borders on both screens here are pretty much the same. Obviously the difference between Go and Go 2 was obviously very clear. The borders here have actually decreased, giving you more of a viewable screen there. And that was actually something that I really enjoyed, caught my eye, caught my family member's eye, and they pretty much snatched one up. Another little difference here I definitely do have to mention that I almost forgot to mention, the price. So the Go 2 I believe was running at stock, the 4 gigabyte with the stock 60 or 64 gigabytes of SSD space, I believe. I believe that was running anywhere between $439 to $449 or so, maybe $429. Someone call me out if I'm a little off there. But the Go 3 is actually at a very convenient and a price point that I kind of guessed that the Go 2 should have been at $399. So if anything's changed, CPU's definitely changed just ever so slightly, maybe giving you a little bit more energy efficiency to some degree, but the price has gone down somewhere between $20, $30, $40, or $50. So that's definitely a welcome change, more budget kind of tablet there, but something to be expected as well too in this particular line of field. This is obviously your beginner stock tablet over here for the Surface Go, and to actually see that thing going anywhere between higher than $450, unless there's an accessory included, it's kind of hitting that threshold that whether it's worth it or not. Now $399 is still a little bit pricey to some degree. Remember, this is basically a tablet, but beyond looking at it just as a tablet, it's basically a full Windows device right here. And you do have options to reinstall the operating system. As I did, I actually updated the Go 2 in the previous video to Windows 11. And basically, this tablet, particularly when connected with the actual Surface keyboard as well too, is basically a whole computer. One little rant I had about tablets from before that I've actually used and even owned, which is actually only one, you're obviously using a mobile operating system, whether it's Android, iOS, or whichever other operating system may be on that particular tablet. Your options to install other operating systems are pretty limited. You'll really have to go down and just hack it as much as you can. Obviously, installing Windows 11 on this Go 2 is pretty straightforward once I have a little adapter to get my thumb drive plugged in with an image for Windows 10 Home. Obviously, you can also install Windows 10 Pro, and of course, when this particular tablet was obtained by a family member some time back, I even tossed in an enterprise version of Windows 10, and it actually works pretty well. It was sucking up a little bit more space than anticipated, so that's why I just put Windows 10 back in, but it was only really much an experiment. I will definitely make a video of which Windows 10 version I really enjoy using. Hopefully you'll find that very entertaining. With previous tablets I've actually used, I'm basically just stuck to a mobile version of an operating system. My options to install apps and whatnot are just very limited. If I really wanted to go ahead and make some really deep customizations, they're also very limited. Here I'm actually using an entire Windows operating system and many customizations and other apps, applications and whatnot that I've just been used to using. Not just in Windows 10, but even Windows 8, Windows 7, XP, and whatnot will probably work on these tablets really well. I'm sure there's an updated version for whatever application you're looking at. Funny enough, I remember there were some old like Windows 98, Windows XP games that I really enjoyed playing that really didn't actually use graphics power back then, like GPU power, it's just all CPU. And you can definitely see those games will probably just work as anticipated on these particular tablets. I actually read in the news article some little tech news some years back, I believe when the Go tablet was released, or it could have just been an earlier version of it before the Go was released, where a couple of guys were actually playing multiplayer Doom on an airplane. They were actually using these tablets right here, or something very similar, and they actually used a wireless adapter. I mean, it's actually battery powered, or maybe you can even just plug it in using the plugs on the airplane. They networked all their tablets, and they were actually able to Bluetooth maybe a little keyboard, a mouse, maybe even a controller, and actually play multiplayer Doom, like good old-fashioned Doom on between like 3 or 4 people on an airplane. Just imagine that. Really entertaining stuff. So that particular option is always still available to you. Would I actually do any further deep gaming on this? Well, don't forget, this is obviously not a dedicated GPU tablet, so you definitely will have some limits. One of my nephews actually played old school Plants vs. Zombies made for Windows on this particular Go 2 tablet some time back. And even though it runs just ever so slightly slowing to load, it actually works really well. It's almost like actually playing the mobile version. Of course, this is touchscreen tapping, basically is your double click. So the game actually works pretty well. So I definitely do have to say I'm actually really enjoying using the Surface Go 3 tablet, if you haven't already noticed. And of course, this video should be coming to an end very soon, but just to show you, they're actually both working on par. So like I said earlier, in terms of performance, there's really no difference. Just want to go ahead and actually run a little benchmark here between these the Surface Go Tablet 2 and the Surface Go 3, just in case you're curious about those numbers. I actually did run a benchmark on the 2 some time back, and the numbers weren't really all that great or impressive, and so definitely don't be too surprised here. I'm going to just do a 1 cycle on each one, and here we go. Obviously it's irrelevant that I don't start them both at the same time. It's not like it's a race here. But let's see what numbers we get. Before I go ahead and end the video here, I actually want to make just one quick comment. One little change I really wish they would have probably tossed on the Go tablet, at least the newer generation here, is maybe giving a little bit of physical extra memory. Maybe an extra 2 gigabytes adding up to 6. I know it seems like an odd number, but back then in the Windows XP and also the Windows 7 days, you will definitely find computers that have odd numbers when you toss in like a 4 gigabyte chip and a 2 gigabyte chip together. Since memory is actually soldered on this particular device, it really wouldn't have been just much of an issue whatsoever. And it probably would have improved the performance of this particular device quite a bit. I mention that because that would actually be a very appealing upgrade for the newer generation of Go tablets, but not only for the Go 3, but moving along into future generations of a little small 10-inch portable tablet like this. That's actually really useful. I gotta tell you, the kickstand on this thing is probably one of the best things that they actually introduced into the tablet world. Any tablet that you have to buy just another accessory to really just get this thing to actually stand up is just kind of a cumbersome experience and just a waste of money, in my opinion. You do have options there, but this app immediately can't be overestimated how valuable this kickstand is. But I mean, I mentioned the memory thing more because obviously other options that other generations of, for example, a tablet from the Surface Pro, the 8, one of the big updates they actually threw in, besides the borders getting a little bit smaller, is the removable SSD on the back, which is obviously a very welcome change. But again, I really can't see that happening on the Go tablet, considering this is actually a budget tablet. So really deep options like that, such as multiple USB-C or Thunderbolt connections, which may actually be an appealing option for a future generation as well too, it's probably going to be just crossing the line just a little bit, unless of course once we actually get those updates, you're going to see the price of this go up from $399 to who knows what, just for the most basic device you can actually get your hands on. And that may unfortunately make this little guy here just a little bit less appealing. So it's definitely really up to you, depending how much of a workflow you're actually planning to use this on. On another tablet of mine, my Pro, I actually use emailing and a bunch of other stuff for it as well. I am going to get my hands on a touch keyboard, the Type keyboard, so I'll definitely do a little review on that as well too. Maybe even the Slim 2 pen, the 2nd generation, because I hear it's got a little bit of a vibrate kind of feeling that makes you just feel like you're actually writing down, so it seems pretty nice. And I actually even tested on probably one of these little tablets as well too, if I get my hands on one again. So that's definitely my experience so far with the Go 3 tablet. Definitely let me know if you have any questions, any points. What's your experience using this particular device? What would you like your experience to actually be using this device? For small little things, like I said, checking the internet, going on, checking out news sites, tech news sites, even watching the YouTube videos. You can see I got my original review of the Surface Go 3 running right over here. No problem at all. Funny enough, I still remember back in my working in downtown Manhattan when I used to see people walking around the Wall Street area and all that entire area, basically holding up a big tablet to take pictures. So I really can't see myself holding this little guy and taking pictures, or even more so doing videos or doing selfies. But you know, you definitely do have that option as well too. And of course, the kickstand can also be a nice little place to really just give you a good grip on the device. If you can actually see right here, this thing's actually pretty solid. Anyway, definitely shoot a like and subscribe if you found this video very useful. Let me know your comments on this. Let me know your experiences as well too with any generation of Go tablets, the first, second, or now the third, if you got your hands on it. And I'll be more than happy to hear out anything you have to say, let you know my experience. If you have any questions, let me know. Pretty convenient to actually just put this thing to sleep mode, by the way, like that. Thanks again for watching, everyone. As always, stay safe. Take care.